You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, OneBestConsult.com, and a Silver Fox advisor, and this is part of the program where I offer you my business tip of the week. This week, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to find the right technical advice that you need in your business. In our interview earlier today in this program, talking with Sean, we talked about with Sean Thompson the fact that technology is just moving so fast, and that should be evident to anyone who's in business today. Sean shared with us his idea of how he keeps up with technology. I want to offer you some of my thoughts. I work with my business clients every day to stay on top of technology and determine what's right for their business. First and foremost, it's important in your business that you have a quality communication system. I've talked about this in recent weeks, written about it in my blog. Quality communications are so important. They're one of the core requirements of a successful business. And when I speak of communications, just so we're on the same page, I'm talking about communications internally between you, your employees. I'm talking about communications with your customers. A lot of focus always on that part of our business. And then also communication with our vendors. So all forms of communication today. We have the telephone, the cell phone, the smartphone, a little bit different. We have email, we have texting, a lot of other ways to communicate with people. So it's important that you have a good system, as I call it, in place, which today relies more and more on technology. So it's important that you do this because really it can be a determining factor in how your business performs. So don't just sweep it to the side. Don't say, well, I've had the same phone system in place for 35 years and it still rings, it still dials. I'm not sure if that's going to cut it, particularly with a competitive environment. So it's an important decision. It's one of the most important business decisions you'll make is upgrading, changing out, maintaining that quality communication system. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about it. Well, the first question people ask me, well, where can I get some help? Well, I advise people based on my experience in running businesses. Actually was part of starting an IT service company. So I've had my hands in the IT business for quite a while, which you get a lot of exposure to technology there. And that's the place I always encourage people to start. Talk to your IT service company, your computer service company. These folks deal with the IT part of your business. They should be experts there. And a lot of times you'll find that these people are smart enough that they are working in or with other technologies such as cell phones. They understand email, obviously, texting, all these other forms of communications. And a lot of times they either directly or indirectly provide phone systems. And the features that are available, they should understand. So the first place to start for good technical advice should be your trusted IT service company. Now, if those folks aren't up to speed and they're strictly, if you will, some geeks that are maintaining computer systems, they got their head down in that, and they're not really staying up to speed with other technologies, then you can turn and look for a generalist. And there are three rules that I go by when I go out to hire a consultant, really of any kind, but it's really important in this area, and I'll touch on that in just a minute. First of all, take a look at the resume. I mean, check the resume just as carefully as you would if you're hiring an employee, perhaps even more carefully. Check it and make sure they've got the kind of experience that would fit your business. I contend that each business is different. Yes, there are industry norms, but each business, the way we as small business entrepreneurs run our business and expect it to perform, the kind of people we have working for us, sometimes we need a little more help in a particular communication tool than we do in another. In other words, it's got to make up for something that we don't have with our employees, ourselves, so we look to spend a little bit more money there in those areas. The second thing is check their references, and I mean really check them. Talk to people who have done business with them most recently and people they do business with on a regular basis. And third, and just as important, check their background. People say, what do you mean? Run a background check on them. Run a background check on them and their business. Make sure that these people you're dealing with, you know who they are. Another area you need to do is determine, in consideration, is determine how much you want to spend on this project. I contend that if you haven't had something in your communication system upgraded in the last 6, 12 months, it probably you have an area that needs or should be considered for upgrading. And that's where you have to put it together, some kind of budget, at least have something in mind. A lot of times that's based on cash flow, how much money we have available. That's a good common sense answer. But I encourage you, when you sit down and determine your return on investment, your ROI, that you carefully look at both the short-term and long-term implications, and the return to you and your business. A lot of this depends on how fast, how far, how much you want to grow your business. And if you want to stay competitive, then you've got to be willing to spend the money to be competitive. It's no different than buying a machine tool in a machine shop. You know, those vendors are typically real quick to talk about the return, how many pieces, the tolerances. They can give you a lot of direct information. But when it comes to technology, it's not as direct, it's not as concrete. And you've got to be willing to sit down yourself and think through this. There's not any basic numeric formula. A lot of this stuff you've got to apply to your business. You've got to think through it yourself, which means you've got to take the time to do it. So I think it's important, last and not least, that if you commit to a change, try to do it in a way that does the least amount of disruption to your day-to-day business. This may require you to work some overtime, maybe work on a Saturday, in order that the change out does not affect the day-to-day business with your clients. And don't forget training. You've got to put into your budget to do some training. One of the things that I like to encourage people is don't be cheap on this project. And when I say cheap, that's a different word to everybody that enters into technology upgrade and changes. When I say that, I'm not saying necessarily spend your money well. You want to do that, but very carefully evaluate how it impacts your business and the future of your business. Well, I want to thank my guest again, Sean Thompson and Alan Stroud. They provided us with great information, hopefully information that can help you in your business today. And I want to remind you, if you don't know already, you can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour. Just simply contact me at rick@irlonestar.com. I'll send you some information. It's a very easy thing to do, and I would welcome the opportunity to have your business sponsor us. Look on Facebook, YouTube, and other social media. On Wednesday of this week, we'll have a podcast of this show. I want to thank you for joining us. Remember to stay in touch with what's going on here in Montgomery County, right here on Lone Star Community Radio. And until next week, stay engaged and keep your focus on what counts in your business. Thanks.